Squigs, welcome to the ultimate guide to the Orc Society, the only race in the galaxy that literally grows its own party. We're breaking down the entire green tide, from the Squigs keeping their pants up to the Warbosses cracking skulls at the top of the heap. Everything starts in the Drops, which is basically the Orc community toilet and landfill site. From this muck emerge Squigs, creatures born from the same fungal spores as the Orcs themselves, creating a living system that the Imperium's tech priests think the Brain Boys crafted ages ago. A squig is essentially what happens when Mother Nature has a complete nervous breakdown and decides to design a Swiss Army knife made entirely of teeth and snot bubbles that explode. These bite-sized blobs are the biological glue that keeps the green tide together, and orcs use them for just about everything. Without squigs, you just have a bunch of bald, hungry guys scratching their heads wondering why nothing works. Squigs take care of every daily task for your average orc. If you need a haircut, just grab a hair squig, let it chomp on your scalp, and its tail will turn into your signature top knot. And if you want to look like a battle-hardened veteran, a chin squig can hang off your jaw like a beard. Even their machines run on critters, as they squeeze grease straight from oil squigs into their engines. While during snack times, they just grab an eating squig or dig for a juicy squig at the bottom of the filth pits if they're feeling fancy. The medical side is where things get really wild. Orc doctors known as pain boys use syringe squigs instead of needles, and the venom is so potent it can knock an orc out for 3 days. That gives the pain boy just enough time to swap your arm for a chainsaw without you putting up a fight, and they use swab squigs to clean up the blood after. It's like healthcare delivered through a series of animal attacks. Orcs love things that go boom, and squigs are perfect for that too. Bomb squigs get strapped with dynamite and hurled toward enemy tanks. Then you have the boom squig, which is a biological landmine that explodes if it gets too excited or hears a loud noise, including its own burps. Then there are the squiggoths and giant squiggoths, which are house-sized squig beasts used as living war machines, used as battering rams while some lucky orc hitches a ride on top. Snotlings. These tiny green creatures are about half a meter tall and are barely smarter than a dog. Everyone above them in the hierarchy gives them a hard time. Snotlings only have one real talent, and that is growing fungus. Leave a snotling alone in any patch of dirt and it will naturally start cultivating the mushrooms and fungal growths that orcs eat and brew medicine from. It is not something they learned, it is just something they do, the same way a dog fetches a stick. The entire orc food supply depends on this, which makes snotlings quietly essential despite being treated like they are not. Their daily routine is tending fungus patches and herding squigs around the drops. They live in filthy little huts right next to the cesspits where the squigs breed, spending their days making sure the critters do not eat each other faster than they reproduce. Run-thirds, the orc overseers who manage the small stuff, keep snotlings in line with prods and the occasional boot. On the battlefield, snotlings have exactly one military use. Mech boys load them into a device called the shock attack gun, which fires them through a warp tunnel directly into enemy formations. They come out the other side completely out of their minds and attack everything in reach. They are too simple to understand what is about to happen, which the mech boys consider a bonus because it makes loading much easier. Orc legend says snotlings are the descendants of the Brain Boys, the hyper-intelligent race that created the entire orc species. The idea is that they built something that eventually outsmarted them and has been getting smaller and simpler ever since. Whether this is true, most orcs simply don't care. Gretchin, also called grots or runts, they are the reason anything in orc society actually gets done. They are smaller and weaker than orcs, but faster and sneakier, and they use every bit of that to survive from one day to the next. They outnumber actual orcs on any orc world, they are everywhere at once, and the whole war machine would fall apart without them. Their job list covers everything orcs consider beneath them, which turns out to be quite a lot. They prepare food, carry messages, haul ammunition, operate vehicle guns, help mech boys, help pain boys, clear minefields, and take hits so that more important orcs don't have to. Despite all of this, Gretchin don't really resent their situation. Orcs are just a fact of life to them, the way bad weather is a fact of life for everyone else. Individual grots who are clever enough can build comfortable lives by making themselves useful to a powerful orc. Most of them also run little side businesses, selling fungus beer, roasting squigs, taking bets when a fight breaks out, and looting corpses. On Gorkamorka, a group of Gretchin got so fed up that they formed the Gretchin Revolutionary Committee. They went on strike and marched through the streets chanting. While they held parts of the settlement for a while, the bigger orcs quickly put it down and their cute revolution failed. Oddboyz. Oddboyz are what most people picture when they think of an orc. They are the muscle behind every orc horde and are completely fine with charging at something that could easily kill them. A standard boy is roughly the size of a space marine, tougher than any human soldier, and driven by the chance of a good fight. They gather into mobs of 10 to 20 and charge forward with choppas or sluggas. Several hundred of them is a situation that requires a full military response and considerable prayer. Lootaz. If you left an orc alone in a scrapyard for a week, you would come back to find a gun the size of a small building. That is basically the origin story of every Loota. They are the heavy fire support of the orc horde and the most committed scavengers in a species that treats taking things as a way of life. Their main weapon is the Def Gun, which is a massive heavy weapon built from bits of crashed vehicles, alien tech, and whatever else was nearby. No two Def Guns are the same because no two Lootaz found the same pile of wreckage. Each gun is its own invention built by one orc with no plan and no budget, and somehow it works. Lootaz are mostly from the Death Skulls clan, which are the orcs most devoted to taking things that belong to other people. Death Skulls paint themselves blue because they believe it brings good luck, and given how much valuable gear they walk away with after every battle, the results speak for themselves. On the battlefield, Lootaz hang back and put out sustained heavy fire from up to 48 inches away, while the rest of the horde gets into it up close. It is one of the few jobs in an orc army that requires standing still, which most orcs find deeply uncomfortable. Lootaz manage it because they are too busy admiring their guns and eyeing up anything worth grabbing to notice they have not moved. Lower-ranked mech apprentices called spanners usually tag along to keep the Def Guns from falling apart between shots, which is a full-time job. Speed Freaks. Speed Freaks are orcs who looked at a vehicle and decided it was better than having a body. They live inside their machines or sleep next to them. The goal is to reach the enemy as fast as possible while making as much noise as possible. The whole thing runs on a simple piece of orc logic: red vehicles go faster. This is a confirmed fact of the universe because enough orcs believe it, and orc belief literally shapes reality. A red bike will outrun an identical blue one every single time because the rider knows it will. Speed Freaks mostly come from the Evil Sunz clan, which has built its identity around this belief and paints everything red, including themselves. Their vehicle options cover everything from basic trucks and bikes to more creative machines like the Shock Jump Dragsta, which jumps through mini-warp tunnels to reappear further up the track, and the Boomdaka Snazwagon, which is essentially a driving firework display. The most famous speed freak in history is Wazdaka Gutsmek, who has dedicated his entire existence to his bike and spent his life campaigning across the galaxy on 2 wheels. Beast Snaggas. While speed freaks fell in love with machines, beast snaggas want nothing to do with trucks or engines or anything that needs a mech boy to keep it running. What they want is to find the biggest creature on whatever planet they are standing on and fight it up close until one of them stops. Beast snaggas mostly come from the Snakebite clan, which are the orcs most suspicious of technology and most committed to doing things the old way. They ride into battle on squighogs, which are large, aggressive squig variants with enough jaw strength to bite through vehicle armor. Every metal attachment on a beast snagga tells you exactly what tried to kill him and did not quite make it. A beast snagga with 4 bionic limbs means he is experienced. Smasha Squigs charge ahead of the mob as living battering rams, while Warboss, the beast snagga version of orc psychics, provide backup by channeling wild energy rather than machinery. The Kill Rig and Hunter Rig are massive platforms built on the backs of giant squig beasts that smash through enemy lines while crews on top deal extra damage from above. Kommandoz. Most orcs love a loud entrance, but Kommandoz prefer the element of surprise. They've mastered the unorky art of patience, realizing that sometimes a stealthy approach can wrap up a battle before it even kicks off. They are mostly from the Blood Axes clan, which has a reputation for being suspiciously clever and too willing to learn from other species. Other orcs do not fully trust Kommandoz, and most warbosses feel vaguely uncomfortable around an orc who would willingly stay silent. Still, every warboss keeps some around because getting a mob of Kommandoz behind enemy lines before a battle starts tends to make everything else go much smoother. Kommandoz sneak up on sentries, blow up fuel dumps and ammunition stores, knock out gun positions, and cause as much damage as possible in areas the enemy thought were safe. Some of them can speak and read Low Gothic, which has caused real distress to the Imperium's intelligence services. Each commando in a mob has a specific role, with confirmed positions including Throat Slit, who handles close kills, and Fireboy, who handles everything that needs to be on fire. As for their approach to camouflage, some commandos believe that wearing purple makes them invisible because nobody has ever spotted a purple orc sneaking around. Oddboyz. Every orc is born ready to brawl, but Oddboyz come into the world with some unique skills that they didn't even have to learn. This know-how was embedded in their DNA ages ago, perhaps by the ancient brain boys. Whether it's whipping up a complex engine or performing surgery, an Oddboy just goes with the instincts that are already coursing through his veins. Mech boys are the engineers of the orc race, crafting every vehicle and weapon in their arsenal. Their tech is rough around the edges and often held together by little more than rivets and a hefty dose of confidence. The best mech boys can whip up machines that can match or even outshine the advanced tech of the Imperium. Then there are the Pain Boys, or Mad Docs, who take on the grim job of battlefield medicine. They're experts in bionic replacements and internal repairs, usually working on patients who are wide awake since the only anesthetic they offer is a quick thump to the head. Mistakes happen, and an orc might wake up to find a leg where his arm used to be. A range of other specialists backs the rest of orc society. Flyboys take to the skies, and brewboys are in charge of the cooking. From bankers to priests, the genetic programming of the Oddboyz makes sure the orcs have a pro for every job needed to keep their civilization chugging along. Weirdboyz. Every orc has a knack for generating psychic energy. Typically, this power just lingers in the air, but Weirdboyz are like living sponges, soaking up all that collective energy from every orc around them. It's how their biology works, forcing them to absorb the psychic buildup of the crowd, whether they like it or not. This energy is pretty volatile and needs to be released. If a Weirdboy can't release it quickly enough, his head might just explode, which can be deadly for anyone standing too close. To keep safe, they channel excess energy through a copper staff, while other orcs make Weirdboys wear bells and rattles so they can hear them coming. When harnessed correctly, this power can be devastating. A Weirdboy can unleash blasts of green energy at enemies or use dodge jump to teleport an entire mob across the battlefield. While most Weirdboys need to be dragged into combat by minders, some actually thrive on the adrenaline and seek out the biggest fights just to feel that power surge. Weirdboys are protected from the worst of what the warp can do to a psyker, because their power comes from the part of it that belongs to Gork and Mork. If a demon does get inside one, the orc brain keeps it trapped, producing a very powerful Weirdboy who argues with himself constantly and occasionally grows features of whatever is stuck inside him. Nobz. They are what happens when an orc has been winning fights long enough that his body has grown bigger than everyone around him. The title comes from the Low Gothic word for noble. This means they are the first pick of any loot and have the best gear, making sure no one would be brave enough to challenge them. In the orc hierarchy, Nobz serve as the vital link between the Warboss and the huge mobs of Boyz. Their main role is to keep order through what they call correction, which usually means a well-placed punch or a headbutt. They make sure the regular orcs stay focused on the enemy, preventing the warband from turning into a chaotic mess before they even hit the battlefield. Since orcs use their own regrowing teeth as currency, a Nob's wealth is directly tied to his health and how long he can keep fighting. They spend every spare tooth on flashy armor and upgrades. No ordinary orc is allowed to have better equipment than a Nob, and if a Nob spots something he likes, he simply takes it. On the battlefield, Nobs charge in like elite shock troops, hitting harder than just about anything else in the warband. Meanwhile, Mega Nobs stomp across the field in their clanking mega armor, hunting down the heaviest enemy tanks to crush. And let's not forget the Nobs on battle wagons, who roar past using their status and custom rides to lead the charge right from the front of the pack. Warboss. Every time an orc wins a fight, his body responds by growing bigger. The more fights he wins, the bigger he gets. And the bigger he gets, the more fights he wins. A Warboss is what happens when that cycle runs long enough that the orc is standing 10 feet tall and wider than a fully armored space marine. His rule is absolute, enforced through a mix of savagery and just enough cunning to keep any ambitious underlings in check. His very presence serves as a psychic anchor for the entire warband. The energy that orcs naturally generate swirls around him, boosting the strength of nearby boys and making them almost immune to pain or fear. To keep this aura alive and maintain his status, he has to lead every charge himself because any hint of doubt or retreat is seen as a weakness that could lead to his assassination. A Warboss carries the most lethal wargear out there, including huge power claws and oversized combi weapons. He often wears thick mega armor, turning him into a walking fortress on the battlefield. To amp up their already lethal nature, Warbosses bring in Mad Docs for surgeries, outfitting themselves with iron jaws and reinforced skeletons. Their status is proudly displayed through trophies, boss poles adorned with enemy skulls and space marine helmets, sending a clear message that they're a serious threat. The meanest Warboss is Gajkul Mag Uruk Thraka, who climbed the ranks from a Goth grunt to a galactic menace. After a bolter shell took out 30% of his brain, Mad Doc Grotznik replaced his skull with an adamantium plate. During the surgery, he claimed to have received a divine mandate from Gork and Mork to unite all orcs into one unstoppable force. Gajkul has led 2 massive wars for the world of Armageddon and has brought together rival clans that had been killing each other for centuries. He's currently at the helm of a campaign so grand that he believes will be large enough to pull the orc gods themselves out of the warp and into the fight. Thanks for watching until the end. Click here to check out another video and see you in the next one.